Greetings VC, Andy here again, and this is the first part of my monthly roundup of new releases that I bought during the previous month. So here we are, beginning of November, and during October I got, as usual, bought way more than I intended. I bought 8, quite varied as usual, but all very enjoyable records, and I'm going to split it into 2 because 8's too many to do in one video. So I'm doing 4 now, and then I'll follow up with the other 4. They're not in any order. So what I've tried to do is to, I've got a lot of variety in genres, so I'm mixing 4 quite different albums in this one, and then another 4 which are all a bit different in the next one. So let's get started. And the first one I'm talking about is by the Irish sort of post-punk band Sprints, and this is their second album, All That Is Over. Now, I bought their last album, came out in January last year, and that was Letter to Self, and that was my debut of the year last year. I really enjoyed it, but this one, their second, is a real step up in maturity, both musically and lyrically. And there's greater variety here without ever sort of losing that slight punk ethic. Carla Chubb, who is the singer and lyricist, also plays guitar. Her lyricism has, or her lyrics, have matured quite a bit on this one. They're sharp and at times quite poetic. And she sings about sort of personal traumas and like breakup and anxiety, but also sort of global issues like all the political turmoil in the world at the moment and climate change and all that sort of stuff. But they're always delivered with great clarity in her quite distinctive Dublin drawl. Now, if I say drawl, it's not really a drawl, it's just a Dublin accent. The lead guitarist has changed too. So the new one, whose name is Zach Stevenson, I think he's got all of the same sort of, out and out punk style fast guitar as the other, but he shows perhaps more variety in his skills, a wider range. So this album kicks off with 2 tracks, the opening 2 tracks, I should say, which are Abandon and To the Bone, are quite dark and smouldering. So they're quite different, but really enjoyable. And they sort of build up. They're in that sort of smouldering, dark and smouldering, and build up to quite big climaxes. And then they're followed by 2 out and out punk tracks. So the first, Discards, which I'll play the bit of a sample on, is really a sort of 3-minute fast punk headbang pogo, and really good. And that's followed by Need, which is sort of similarly exhilarating. And Carla is singing there on sort of desire and desperation, but with a frantic energy. Really, really good stuff. And the closing track, which is called Desire. This is one of those, Sprints are one of those bands which always have the text on their albums in different directions, so you never quite know which way up you're talking about, but there's the track listing. And the last one is Desire, and that's a sort of 6-minute another slow burner which builds up to a really big and almost chaotic high, not quite to finish like that. So it builds up and builds up and builds up, and it gets that, and then at the very end it just sort of drops back to a quieter sort of closing, a more gentle close, but not gentle in the lyrics, just quieter. And this album came with, I did get this from Rough Trade, and it is a Rough Trade exclusive, but it's not their album of the month. But nevertheless, it did come with, so the right way round, it did come with a 7-inch bonus single with 2 tracks on it. I got this right towards the beginning of the month, and I did listen to them, but I haven't listened to them since. So I can't remember exactly much about them. And it's very pink. So the album is, oops, hang on, let me try and get it out. Is a very vivid pink.
Delicately around ego, don't let either side take hold. What is it to have artistic credibility? For am I not just a man? I seek to take aim at commentary I speak, so therefore I understand.
So my next album is from a band called They Are Gutting a Body of Water, which it goes by the acronym TAGABOW, because they are gutting a body of water is quite a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? And the album is called Lotto, and there's it all on the back. They are gutting a body of water. Now, TAGABOW are new to me. I picked up on this on the radio, listening to Six Music, and thought that is brilliant. They played the first track off this, which I'll come to in a minute. But TAGABOW, I'll call them TAGABOW rather than They Are Gutting a Body of Water, but that's who they are. This is their fourth studio album, and obviously they're new to me, so I've never heard any of the earlier stuff. But from what I've read reviews-wise, this is a big step up, and compared to their previous stuff. So they're a four-piece from Philadelphia, and they're considered to be shoegaze, and it is sort of shoegaze, but it's much more than that. So and by shoegaze, I mean the sort of heavier end guitars and so on. But there's some gentle female vocals in there as well. But the opening track, called The Chase, is the one I heard on the radio and wowed. Now that to me is more early post-rock than it is shoegaze, but it sort of mixes the two. The first track really, really, really reminds me of Slint. So those, from the Magnificent Spiderland. And the front man, who is called Doug Dolgarian, really, over the whole album, he's sort of exploring addiction, obviously his own monsters, recovery, disassociations, the state of modern society and capitalism and so on. And all of that stuff is sort of central to the theme weaving through this. On The Chase, he more so than on any other of the tracks on here, he really gives a sort of spoken word, gentle, confessional spoken word vocal over that sort of heavy, menacing guitar riff. And it really does remind me of Slint. It's not like that for the whole of the rest of the album, though the guitar is always there. He comes in and out with, with those sort of spoken word things on the odd track. But also, as I mentioned, there's more sort of female, sort of shoegazy type vocals going on as well. So what other tracks we got is Sour Diesel, which is where are we? So that's the second track. That's much more sort of layered and dreamy. So this is much more shoegaze, and it's got that sort of a layered ethereal sound to it. Violence 3, which is on the second side, now that's sort of that's heavy shoegaze. So it sort of mixes that, it sort of fuses more classic shoegaze with a really heavy central riff. And American Food, which is an unusual name for a track, follows Violence 3. And that's got some unusual vocal effects, sort of digitized vocal effects in there. Not silly, not poppy or anything, and DJ scratching. And it sounds at one point, there's a field recording of a sort of subway or underground type train. It's a bit different to the rest of the album, but it's not out of place. And I really enjoyed this one. It is completely different, and it's 10 tracks, classic 10 tracks on a single LP, and it is very, very resplendent on a splatter, red, yellow, and blue splatter on over a transparent vinyl. Now, sample-wise here, I'm trying something different, and I'd really like your feedback of which type of sample you like. So I abandoned a while ago the sort of trying to record straight from the record playing on my main, which I can actually video, because the sound quality wasn't good enough. So I was sort of picking up sound from only one speaker because the other one was too far away. I'm trying it again because I've got an app on my phone which does pick up the sound better. I don't think it's quite as good as what I usually do, where I record it in my study, where I've got a different sort of setup. I can record it there directly onto my computer, so I'm not picking it from the speakers there. Though, you know, I've got basically a turntable which I can rip vinyl from directly. So, which is what I usually do, which is why I don't show the video playing, because the record player's right on top of my stuff, so I can't really get to it. And I'm rabbiting on. So this is a sample of it recorded directly off the speakers. Tell me which you prefer in the comments. Do you? And now we come to another album, which is an umpteenth release by a band which has been going a long time. And I'm talking about the Orb and their new album, Buddhist Hipster. This is sort of like back to the Orb. Old school Orb. It's brilliant. So these days, the Orb consists of Alex Patterson and Michael Rendau. Sorry. Now Rendau is relatively recent, and from the pictures I saw, he's much younger. You know, so he's a new guy. Patterson's been with the Orb since the very beginning, founding it with Jimmy Corti in 1988, and in between time, who didn't stay long. And in between time, there's been multiple lineup changes, always with Patterson as the consistent. It's electronica, as we know, but to me, it's got a sort of psych stroke prog lean to it, it's got. I sort of read it's described as ambient house, but I sort of get that, but it's not as, you can't really just put it into one little pigeonhole. It's like back to what I would consider their playful best, with samples on here, sort of spoken word samples that are reminiscent of the magnificent little fluffy clouds, which I think everyone knows. The opener is the 10-minute Spontaneously Combust, which is a great title, isn't it? And this to me is classic Orb. You know, over its 10 minutes, it goes through several different styles. It's got some house music in there, some gentle ambient. And it was described as, in one review I read, vintage ambient house, dub bass, and a classic Orb playful mystique, which it is. And I think the mystique on here, it must refer to that spoken word bit, because there is a spoken word sample which is really, really reminiscent of Fluffy Clouds. And also, it features on guitar the magnificent Steve Hillage. So it's not the first time that the Orb have collaborated with a legend, a guitar legend of progressive rock. Because, of course, a while back, 2010, I think, they released Metallic Spheres with Dave Gilmour, of all people. And at the other end of the album, it closes with two tracks, Under the Bed and Car On, which are really they're really immersive and ambient. So they're again, distinct, not ambient in the Brian Eno sense, but ambient in the Orb sense. So not quite as dance floor, more coming down, which obviously was their tradition back in the 80s and 90s. But Car On, interestingly, does feature Brian Eno's brother, Roger, who's a magnificent pianist, of course. And then in the middle of it, in between those two, you've got a great ranging style. There's what I might call a left field intermission in the middle of two tracks, a sacred choice, and Arabebonics, difficult to say. The former, Sacred Choice, is a reggae track, basically. If you can imagine an orb-style reggae track, or it's again, I saw this described as reggae skank, but I'm not sure I know what that is exactly. Arabebonics features a sort of Middle Eastern style hip hop. And both of those, because they don't spoil the album, but they don't naturally fit with it either. I think they've been a bit sort of panned critically, and particularly by old fans of the Orb, because it's not their usual sort of stuff. And I quite like it, particularly the reggae one. And then the album kicks in. Then the album goes to the dance floor. So you've got 2 tracks following those: Doll's House and the Ort Cloud (Tonight). And if you can read those, because the spelling's a bit odd. And they're just brilliant old school house music. So those are dance, and then obviously it then moves on to the closing tracks that I talked about. And this one is a full-on double, but just on plain black vinyl. It is a full double. The tracks are quite lengthy.
The most beautiful thing in the whole world. And then the paintings on the walls were dripping. You could see the paint coming down like this, just like somebody was hosing it off at the top, and all the paint was running down to the floor. But it was so pretty. They were running, just like they were melting. It was groovy.
And my last album for this first video is again a complete change of style from the previous ones, and it is James Yorkston and Friends, songs for Nina and Johanna. Now James Yorkston is a Scottish folkie, shall we say. Nina is Nina Persson of the Cardigans, of course, and he has duetted with her before. Excuse me. I think they may have even released an album before. And Johanna is Johanna Söderberg of First Aid Kit. I don't think he's duetted with her before. Johanna and Nina, of course, are Swedish, and this album was recorded in Stockholm, I believe. Now, I find this something of a curiosity. So James and Nina appeared on Jules Holland, which is a sort of a long-standing live music and talk show on the BBC. And they played one of these songs from this. I can't remember which one it was, and I was quite intrigued by it. I enjoyed it. I thought that's quite different. So anyway, I ventured and bought the album. It wasn't, as new albums go, it wasn't too bad. And it's I mean, at the end of the day, it's a collection of duets with one or other of the ladies. So there's 5 with Nina and 4 with Johanna. And on all of them, I would say James is, whilst it's a duet, James is content to take the sort of the backing of it, the back seat, shall we say, vocally, and leave the lead to whichever of the 2 ladies are with him on that. There's one track, it's sort of roughly in the middle, called "What's the Time?" Where's the Time? Which is a solo by James with his sort of with his friends, which I believe are sort of usual collaborators, the Second Hand Orchestra, and that's probably the one which is the fullest musically. The rest are mostly sort of pared back. I would call acoustic pop folk. It's not folk rock. It's not out and out folk. There's a pop feel to it, but you know, not sort of bubblegum pop, obviously. You've basically mostly just got Yorkston's acoustic guitar, and then the backing from his friends varies considerably from track to track. So some are little more than just his acoustic guitar. Other ones are more complex musically with much more instrumentation in them. And I really saw that this is another one of those descriptions that gelled with me. So I saw it described as pop-leaning chamber folk duets, and that I think sums it up nicely. Now, obviously, there are different styles here in the vocal style between Nina and Johanna, but it all fits together quite nicely. Now, I'm at risk here of damning by faint praise, but I'd say nice sums up this album. It's a nice collection of nice songs. They're easy to listen to without ever being easy listening. But I find it difficult to sort of highlight any particular standout track. They're all easy to like, but none of them exactly wow. It's a nice listen. And it's just on black vinyl. Got lots of black vinyl this time, but with some spectacular coloured stuff as well. So,
And friendship flew out of the window, and manners flew out of the window. I guess I flew off the handle. I did not think about you. Oh, friendship flew out of the window, and manners flew out of the window. I guess I flew off the handle. I did not think about you. Oh, sometimes I looked you up, but I guess you changed your
well, so there you go. Now, don't forget to leave me the feedback of your preference for the style of the samples, because samples take a bit of time to set up and do. So I just like to do them as of what works best for you guys. So thanks for watching, and come back in, I don't know, probably in the next week for my second part, where I've got another 4 fabulous albums with some you know, matching these in quality. Thanks for watching. Cheers.